Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Here I am, there I am. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the morning grind. Oh. There we go. Welcome to the morning grind. Good to see you. It's time to talk some Pathfinder again. Who have we got here? Let's see. Vision is here. Welcome. Yep. Cracks open Pathfinder core rulebook. Gather around, children. I shall tell you a tale. Exactly. Moochhound. Stray is here. Moochhound is also here saying hello from chilly Poland. I bet it is chilly in Poland. Welcome. Good to see you. Tough Years. Oh, Tough Years says, I fell asleep watching the cultist live stream last night. Got rudely awakened at some god-awful time to the cultist tune blaring out. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, that was epic. That was an epic stream. Dax, who plays Rob, joined us at the end, and we talked about we talked about the cultists, and we talked about potentially doing the Star Trek fan films on the set down in Kingsland, Georgia. So but man, wow, it was epic. There, it was a long stream, but it was so cool. We had great conversations talking about different aspects, the development of the cultists, and looking at all of the props. I still have the props sitting right here. If you haven't seen this, well, this is a very important prop from the cultists. So this was in Cultist Season 2. It's one of my favorite cultist props. Everybody, just makes life better having this particular rubber fish around. So if you haven't seen the cultists, each episode, there are 2 seasons there. Each season has 10 episodes, and each episode's like between 5 and 8 minutes. Some of the ones in the season 1 were shorter. They're on the channel, and I really appreciate you checking them out. If you haven't watched them, I really appreciate it if you would check them out. We work very hard on them. Open D&D. Open D&D is here. It says it's all about the grind. LOL. I have no clue about Pathfinder. Well, we are. I didn't either when I got started with this. So good morning, Chase. I see Chase, Mike Hansford, Zero the Blade. First time watching the grind. Wonder what this is about. Welcome to Zero the Blade. First time here on the morning grind. Welcome. We talk about different topics in geekdom and gaming, tabletop gaming. Here on the morning grind, we have a different topic every day, although we have been very tabletop RPG heavy for the past couple of months. We've been taking a look at lots of different RPG systems and how to play them. And so recently, we've had an interest in Pathfinder, so we have been learning how to play Pathfinder. So every day is a different topic. East Coast, Ghost Tav. Welcome. So good to see everyone. Man, Jay's here. Lots of people here. Oh, BGD, excellent. Good to see everybody. Okay, so we should sip. I'm going to show you the tweets because of the new. I don't want to talk about the license other than for 3 minutes because I'm going to tell you the new avenue of attack that I'm approaching because I've been going over all this in my mind. But here, let's breathe and then sip. Let's breathe. Everybody together. Deep inhale, complete exhale, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. All together now. Now sip. So that makes the world better. So let me show you. I've been working on my phraseology regarding the new I've been working on my phraseology regarding. Oh, did I just take away the tweet? Let me put this up. The new release from Wizards. So this was yesterday's. Oh yeah, well, okay, here it is. So yesterday morning, I realized, wait a minute, if they're talking about doing things for illegal activity, well, what are illegal things that people like to do, and they probably do not want to, they don't want to get involved in this anyway. Ryan Dancy had the perfect solution when he drafted this to make sure that Wizards was not involved in trying to adjudicate obscenity or morality or anything like that with regard to the license. But apparently in 1.2, Wizards and Hasbro has decided that's exactly what they wanted to do. So I was asking, right here. So let me pull this add to the stream. So forgot to add it. So Wizards of the Coast will revoke your, this is my first try at the verbiage here. Wizards of the Coast will revoke your D&D license for marijuana use. Appears so. They say they may revoke it if you engage in conduct that is illegal, and cannabis use is illegal under U.S. state law. So we should amplify that message. If you would like to, I've got lots of questions that they might not want to answer. So I'm going to put a link to that tweet here. And if you'd like to be able to get to that tweet and like it, and then also do retweet it. Like it, retweet it. I have another angle for another tweet right over here, and I've been thinking of other questions, such as this one right here. Here's the question right here. So questions for Wizards and D&D, and I think I should start tagging Hasbro as well. You state that you may terminate a 1.2 license if someone is engaged. I can't believe we missed the idea that if you were engaged in conduct, if you were engaged in conduct, not if the conduct is in your material that you're publishing, but if you are engaged in conduct that is illegal or obscene. It says that you can't publish it either, but it also says just if you're engaged in the conduct. So we also need to be tagging Wizards on this, Wizards and Hasbro. So this was yesterday evening. Question: Wizards D&D, you state that you may terminate a 1.2 license if someone is engaged in conduct that is obscene. If a licensee runs an OnlyFans, is that engaging in obscene conduct to you? How will you judge if an OnlyFans creator's content is obscene? Sounds like they need to be able to provide an answer to that so that we understand what it is they are thinking on obscenities. And I can think of a lot of questions to put out like that probably Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro do not want to have to address. And I was thinking about scripts to make scripts as well to make YouTube videos out of. I've got other things to do. Last night was a major epic live stream we were just talking about, and I've got so many other things to do. But that, when I get an idea, sometimes I just have to do it. So I'm thinking about different things going on to work on that angle. D20 Play, hello, good to see you. Don is also here. I like this. Don says, I'm engaged in conduct that brought me to this stream. Hayes McGee, I've never read Mouse Guard, so I don't know. I can't really compare it because I haven't read Mouse Guard. We need to check out Mouse Guard, but I think more so than Mouse Guard, at least my thinking is that probably Redwall is more similar to Rabavania. Now, there are still important differences, but I think it's more like Redwall than it is Mouse Guard. But I'm not really familiar with Mouse Guard. All right, so let's get into this. We had stopped last time when we were looking at GMing Pathfinder. We had just stopped at building adventures, and we had been told that building adventures was really good. Yeah, Hayes, we need to look at the Mouse Guard RPG. I do want to look at the RPG. That was on the list, so maybe that's a good way for us to get to know Mouse Guard, because we've been looking at RPGs here on the stream a lot, so we need to look at Mouse Guard. And also Moss Ritter, we need to look at that one too. Okay, so coffee is good this morning. Oh, Lake the Pondling said, I made a custom Redwall RPG once. Cool. So we were told actually that it's pretty easy. Some people were saying that it's pretty easy actually to build adventures and encounters in Pathfinder, which is great. Some people said it's actually really easy to GM Pathfinder, and especially about designing encounters and things like that. So building challenges and building encounters, this is the kind of stuff that we are going to get into today to figure out how to do this. So I imagine there's some stuff that we already know as RPG people, but then again, sometimes we found that when I think I know something and then I read a paragraph and then realize, oh, wait a minute, there is actually new stuff in here. So let's see here. The story. So we've got the stories. When you start to build an adventure, see, I think this is probably stuff we would know. So building a story, starter story ideas, roll D8 to come up with some type of idea if you need some type of help with that. But then locations. Bring out the player's curiosity through memorable settings that include mysterious and fantastical locations for the heroes to visit. Exploring each location should be a treat in of itself, not just a step the players must complete to get from one fight to the next. As you create a locale, picture it in the mind's eye. Write down details you can include as you narrate the game. Describe decorations, natural landmarks, wildlife, peculiar smells, and even temperature changes. Makes a place feel more real. So Wolfgang Bauer, when we were talking about, I'll see the auxiliary camera feed might be a little bit laggy, but there's nothing I can do about that. Might be just the way the internet is at the moment. It'll probably clear up. We were, when we were talking about world building, like we do on World Building Wednesdays, we were talking about Wolfgang Bauer's principle that we need to know the locations in a particular area, and there needs to be some reason why there is conflict there and a reason to explore them. And that was a principle of world building that he'd articulated on the World Anvil podcast. And so this is good advice here. We've been following that each location really has to have a reason to go there, a reason to adventure there, and something cool that's going on. I think that's great advice. Beyond monsters and loot, your locations can include challenges based on the environment, from weather conditions like blizzards to puzzles, traps, or other locations. These challenges should suit your adventurous location. Walls of brambles in a castle ruin overrun with vegetation, pools of acid in a cursed swamp, or magical traps in the tomb of a paranoid wizard. Rules for environments appear on 44 and hazards on page 48. Okay, drawing a map. You know, I've seen people doing in fact, I think some people may have been doing like the Dungeon 23 or something like that, when everybody's trying to do one room of a mega dungeon every day, all year, so that at the end of the year you have this 365 room mega dungeon. So I've seen lots of maps going by. We'll see how many of those actually get finished. So here's a sample map. Here you see the sketch map used to make the first level of Menace under Atari map. Below is a set of symbols you can use to represent common features found in most dungeons, doors, stairs, traps, pillars, and more. Drawing a map. Most adventures focus on a single location or dungeon. Once you know your adventure's story, you can start drawing a map to make it easier to keep track of where everything is. It's best to draw the map on a sheet of graph paper first, with each square on the graph paper representing a 5-foot square. Then, when you run the game, you can use a map with a 1-inch grid, where the squares represent a 5-foot square. Makes sense. When you first draw the map, you should use a pencil so you can make changes easier. Then you can jot down notes for each room that you like guard post or spider's nest. Mapping tips. Avoid empty rooms. Don't add too many empty rooms, as they can clutter your map and get boring and repetitive quickly. Right. I guess that's even not only just the location we have to want to make sure is interesting, but that applies to individual rooms as well, right? Is there a reason to be in this room? I'm for the session-focused kind of adventuring. Oh, wait a minute. My Dropbox was syncing. That might help me help the reason why the internet's lagging here. I have to remember to turn that off, and I didn't think about that this morning because I got up late because last night's late stream. So maybe that will help. Avoid empty rooms. So yeah, make sure. I'm very interested in being session focused. I like being session focused on adventures. And hey, so is it fun to move through the empty rooms? Maybe not. Maybe not. So even individual rooms should be like that. If you've only got 2 or 3 hours to sit down and play, make sure every room counts. Leave room for expansion. Unless you're certain you won't return to your dungeon, allow for players to expand later in future adventures. A tunnel running off the edge of a map, a flight of stairs leading down a tunnel, or a large pit can all lead the way to new areas. Avoid symmetry. Refrain from creating symmetrical dungeons in which one half is an exact mirror of the other. It's unrealistic, and players may be disappointed when they realize they only have to explore half the dungeon to see it all. Vary room shapes. Instead of just a bunch of rectangles, include strangely shaped rooms, alcoves, multi-level rooms, irregular caverns, and other variations. You can look at a lot of real-world locations to get some ideas. Use wide corridors. Remember that combat in Pathfinder is based on 5-foot squares. If you fill your dungeon with 5-foot wide hallways, you may end up with combats which some heroes or monsters actually can't get into the fight. Don't make a maze. Avoid the temptation to make your map into a maze. Exploring one gets old quick once you're playing, especially if you spend most of your time during the game drawing twisted corridors on your mat when you could be running combat. Now, the Pathfinder box set did come with a fantastic, upgraded battle map from the first box. So then it talks about, there's a lot. Then you go back in here with inking or scanning it with a computer. Strange rooms. I want to get into the mechanics of, so encounter groups. Okay, so now we're actually into the mechanics of how to build this out. So this is what I wanted to see. So we got a table up here for encounter groups. We will see how that, how to use that. But when we get down here to encounters, I suppose. Oh, and this is where we were talking about adjusting encounters for different parties of different sizes. So we were looking at how to award experience points the last time we were looking at the Pathfinder GM. And it did say that you adjusted encounters. They had a system for adjusting encounters based on party size. Yeah, I just briefly looked at Mal's Ritter. It'd look neat too. That's a good question, Jay. Jay asks, what book am I looking at? This is the Beginner Box Game Master Guide. So that's what we're looking at here. We know that in standard Pathfinder, I guess I should have the core rule book ready to access if we need it. In standard Pathfinder, they don't have a player's handbook and a game master's guide. It's just the core rule book. This is just the core rule book, which is a big, thick book. But if you get the Pathfinder starter set, which we recommended, and we think that it is a great starter set, but inside the starter set was this, the beginner's box, as they call it. The beginner's box game master's guide inside. So that's what book I'm looking at. This is inside the starter set. This is the starter GM guide in the starter set. Good question. Yeah, Vision was talking about, look at, page 485 in the core rule book, a welcoming environment. Well, I'll check that out. Maybe that's something that we can tweet about. Tough Year says, you may like Historia, dark fantasy Renaissance setting for 5e from Mana Project Studio. A dark fantasy Renaissance setting. That does sound interesting. Just might do it. We might have to look at that on a World Building Wednesday when we look at different world books. So that one might be one to look at on a World Building Wednesday. Dermis, hello. Open D&D asks, question for chat. Does Pathfinder have a multiverse or just a world or a few worlds? Jay, going to flash back in time and check out some RPGs I used when I was in high school, like GURPS, Robotech, Palladium, Rifts, etc. Of course, in high school, I was also big into GURPS. I got all my GURPS books back there. Of course, it was a different edition back then, but always glad to find other people who are interested in GURPS. OpenD says, I'm on level 10 and 12 for my Dungeon 23. So keep going. All right, keep going. If there's a description, Vision says, of the Pathfinder universe, if we can find that, we will check it out. So building challenges. Challenges are big, dramatic points in your adventure. They often feature combat encounters with other creatures, but they can also include hazards, or you might create social challenges in which characters duel only with words. Your rules for building challenges appropriate to your group's level begin below. Some adventurers have a clear and distinct progression, with challenges occurring at specific times or in specific order. Others, such as a dungeon filled with interconnected rooms that group can investigate in any order, are nonlinear, and the group can face challenges in any order, or even avoid them entirely. Most adventurers are someplace in between, with some keystone challenges the heroes must contend with, and some optional ones the heroes could avoid. So encounters. The most common type of challenge is a combat encounter, where the heroes fight other creatures. You can plan your adventure, think about the kinds of creatures that fit your story. Not all of them have to be important to the plot. It's okay to include a monster you think would be just fun to use, as long as it is actually contributing to fun at the table. It's okay to include monsters, especially if you're being very session-focused. It's okay to include monsters you think would just be fun to use. Think about your players, too. Include a monster you think they would like going up against based on the players' personalities. When you're picking encounters for your adventure, make note of which area your encounter appears in and details of the creature involved. This includes notes on their place in the adventure plot and any treasure you might want them to carry. You can look at rooms in Menace Under Atari, or Otari. I've been saying Atari, I think. I'm not sure. I've never seen that. I've never heard that pronounced before, but I think it's Atari. Looks like it to me. For other types of information to include, though, you can just use brief notes instead of writing out everything in detail. Okay, so to build a combat encounter, first decide how the encounter fits into the adventure as a whole. Then estimate how much of a threat you want the encounter to pose. An encounter has a XP budget. This is how much XP all of the monsters are worth. This budget depends on how much of a threat the foes are. A group worth less than 60 XP isn't much of a fight, and one above 120 XP might be too deadly. All right, that's important. I did like when the Angry GM was doing a build out of a big mega dungeon on his blog, and he definitely started with the XP as well, and then broke down. He was using 5th edition rules. He wasn't using Pathfinder, but really broke down into the 5th edition rules to figure out how the adventure should be structured from the XP standpoint. And so I love starting from the XP. All right, so I've got these encounters. Where do I want the heroes to be? At what level when they get where? How many encounters do I have to set up? At what type of budget? And it actually seems like Pathfinder is much more direct with that, because Pathfinder is giving you one level every 1,000 XP. We discovered that last time, that you're not going to get 20,000 experience points. You're going to get every 1,000 XP for every character class, for every player. Every 1,000 XP, they go up. At the time, I wasn't thinking about making adventure design easier, but that does make the design of these easier. How many encounters should they go through? What's the XP budget? The XP budget gives us the how challenging it is, and then you just look for the monsters that are actually that challenging. I like that system. I like that system a lot. Oh, Hayes McGee says, have a good day. I have to get ready for my podcast. All right. Well, let us know next time what your podcast is. I don't know it. I'm sorry. Thank you for coming by. So Piccadilly says, Open D&D, just one setting, that being the world of Galarian. Galarian, right? Of course, it's with its own planes of existence and all of that. And the solar system and beyond gets explored in more depth than Starfinder. It does? Okay, I didn't know that Starfinder was connected to Pathfinder like that. I just learned something new. We've been asked, it's come up, can we look at Starfinder on the stream? And I'd be happy to look at Starfinder. I'd be very interested in what the Starfinder box set is. I just thought it was something that was independent sci-fi. So it's actually something that connects to Pathfinder like this? I did not know that. Tough Year says, I've always wanted to play a Tabaxi rogue with a passion for knocking random stuff off the side. Okay, I believe that did fix my internet situation. Sorry about that. There isn't much I can do about the internet, but if I accidentally have Dropbox syncing and it's trying to sync something giant, that does help. Vision says they specifically talk about other planes of dimensions on page 419. Let's look at that very quickly, because I would be interested in that as well. What is the structure of their world? 419. Okay, so it is chapter 8. So chapter 8 in the core rule book, which is not open game content. We were trying to decide what is open game content and what is not, what we can use and what we can't. So chapter 8 is not open game content because this is their world. So they do talk about they do talk about the multiverse here. Countless planets lie beyond Galarian's solar system, but even those myriad worlds of the universe, known as the material plane, are but a fragment compared to what lies in the multiverse beyond. Other planes of existence and strange dimensions wrap this reality in a series of layered, nested spheres, collectively known as the Great Beyond. This model of reality is as much a metaphor for concepts that mortal minds have difficulty grasping as a physical description. For within the Great Beyond, anything is possible. Inner sphere. The core of the multiverse is the inner sphere. Here, the vast expanse of the material plane and its countless worlds can be found. The elemental planes surround the material plane like layered shells, with the plane of air on the inside transitioning to the plane of water, then the plane of earth, and finally to the plane of fire. I feel like I need a diagram of that. But then we also do have the outer sphere. The scope of reality within the outer sphere is difficult to grasp. Here the gods dwell, and the souls of the dead gather to be judged by the goddess of the dead, Pharasma, atop the spire in the realm that is her boneyard. Anything is possible in the outer sphere. So other than other planes of existence and dimensions, some planes of existence in the same physical or metaphysical space as others, overlapping these other planes like overlays of reality. These include the ghost world of the ethereal plane, which overlays the inner sphere, the dizzying vastness of the astral plane, which overlays most of reality and fear, fills the seemingly endless gulf between the inner sphere and the outer sphere, and the fey-haunted first world and sinister shadow plane, which overlay the material plane. The dreamlands are in here. Oh, look, the stranger reaches of the great beyond exist as well. Some, such as the dreamlands, etc., the dreamlands are visited often and accidentally, while others, such as the enigmatic dimension of time, are visited rarely, if ever. In all these cases, these dimensions cannot be accessed by normal means, and each has their own method of entry and exit. Man, reading this kind of stuff just makes you so excited to get back to creating stuff. I have not been able to do that with everything that's been going on. And it's really getting to me. It's really getting to me because we're here about creating things. We're supposed to be about creating things here on this channel. It took me I did clip all the Bob Tarantino interviews, by the way. All those clips are out now. I clipped that, so that's why you've been seeing this coming out. The last one was published on the channel this morning. So that took a while to clip all of that. I need to get some help. I may need to get some help clipping things. I can't I don't have cash to pay somebody to help clipping right now. But when that comes up, I think that clipping, getting somebody else on board to help clip YouTube stuff might be a good idea, because it takes effort, it takes time, and having somebody else to help with that would be great. So yeah, so we got all kinds of multiverse. So it's one, depends on how you define multiverse, I guess. We've got one universe that they're trying to develop, man. And I want to do my world building. I want to do my world building so badly. Open D&D says, okay, cool. So a solar system, that's not bad. They need a multiverse. The hero's journey requires a hero to master 2 worlds or more, critical storytelling element. Oh man, we could get into the hero's journey. I've been taking deep dives in the hero's journey. Brianna and I have as well. Now, but there are many different meanings of the other world. There are guns and metal spaceships in Starfinder. BGD says, the advice on dungeon design and map making in this book is strongly biased toward modern sensibilities and styles of play. So-called empty rooms served an important function in old school crawls. And they might have. I mean, it does give you places to rest and things like that. Yeah, my current thinking is on session-focused, as much adventure as you can possibly pack into a session. In my opinion, Don says, in my opinion, the Pathfinder First Edition Game Master's Guide was one of the best GM guides ever. Way better than the 5e DM's Guide. Yeah, you know, people bring up stuff that's in the 5e DM's Guide, but I don't find myself referencing it all that often. I mean, there is some good stuff in there, but I didn't find myself referencing all that often. Sometimes I even forgot that there were other rules in the DM's Guide. Like, oh, I guess that is covered. But the first edition now makes me want to pick that one up. I'm gonna get the second edition Game Mastery Guide, because there is a Game Mastery Guide, but we should check out first edition too. Then, does anybody know about the second edition? Hey, Robert. Good morning. I'm gonna scroll down a bit through the comments. Lots of other people coming in. Okay, so we were talking about budgeting XP. So low threat encounters are intended to be a budget of 60 XP or less, or budget is equal to 60 XP. Use some of the party's resources, but they aren't that scary. It would be unlikely or the result of very poor tactics for the entire party to be seriously threatened if you've got an XP budget of 60. Moderate threat encounters are budget equals 80 XP. These are serious challenges to the heroes, though unlikely to overpower them completely. Heroes usually need to use sound tactics and manage their resources wisely. Severe threat encounters are 120 XP. These are the hardest encounters that most group of heroes can consistently defeat. These encounters should be saved for important moments of your story and be confronting a final boss. Bad luck, poor tactics, or lack of resources due to prior encounters could easily turn a severe encounter against the heroes, and a wise group keeps the option to disengage open. You might warn the players when they enter a severe fight, especially if they're new to Pathfinder. Their heroes likely can't tell when they're up against an enemy that looks really tough. Even their heroes can likely tell when they're up against an enemy that looks really tough, even if the players aren't sure yet. So, like, how many encounters do you need to go through in order to level up? So if you're trying to build this around one level, if you're trying to build 1,000 XP to get to another level, another player level, not dungeon level, you'd want to conclude with a 120 XP fight, let's say. Or maybe it takes you 2 adventures to get through one. Let's see. What does it take to get us to 500? Because I'm also thinking about how much time these take to play. I don't know. I've never played before. But let's say that you start off with a low threat encounter. Okay. So actually, that means that 500, a good way to get to 500 experience points, which would be half a level, would be 160 XP low threat encounter, 1, 2, 3, 4 moderate threat encounters, and then 1 serious threat encounter. That would give you 500 XP. That would be half a level right there. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total encounters, 1 low threat encounter, 4 moderate threat encounters, and then 1 severe threat. So I wonder how long that takes to play. How long would it take to play through in the round? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 encounters. Is that one session, or is that multiple sessions? Who's played Pathfinder, and let us know. If you were to play out those 6 encounters, 1 low, 4 moderate, and 1 severe, how long would that take at the table? Yes, and you don't have to, well, right, and that's kind of difficult. If you fought their way through, because as Vision points out, earning experience doesn't require a creature to die. Love that, opens up possibilities. Right, you can get the XP if you bypass it, which would make it take less time at the table. So we're talking about fighting your way through all of those. Well, DM's Toolbox says, I wonder if the combat encounter system in PF2 second E is better balanced than 5e. So people were telling me. Some people were telling me. 5e is built around that encounter. 5e is built around that 5 encounter a day thing or whatever. And that almost never happens. Yeah, 5th edition expects you to be fighting all the time. Like, yeah, 5 encounters a day. I know, that makes me even more interested in Starfinder. Lake upon Lake says elves are actually from another planet. Oh, it's set in the future. Oh, okay. So it's not concurrent time as this, but in the same universe. Interesting. Set in the far future. Makes sense. Jeggy is asking, isn't Starfinder more space fantasy rather than sci-fi? I haven't played, just heard. Yeah, that's a good, could be. It could be. All right. Let's see about what people are saying about building out that encounter. Man, lots of conversation going on. So for my group, it should take, so it should take, people are saying that it takes 2 3-hour sessions. So 3-hour sessions, a realistic game time to me, given my life today. Of course, when we were playing with Lou, we would play for about 8 hours. But we only got together about once a month. But we'd have an all-day gaming session. And of course, years ago, it would be all night, right? So yeah, the 120 fights are most deadly. So the second edition, Chase says, the second edition Pathfinder GM guide is everything that 5e doesn't have but desperately needs. Well, we'll get it, and we will definitely check it out, because I'm really loving what I'm seeing here with Pathfinder so far. So we can use milestones as well. Usually I look at one. David Sims is saying, I usually look for 1 level every 3 or 4 sessions. So Piccadilly says, for me, we leveled up about every 4 sessions. Torreston Oaks says 2 to 4 rounds per combat, 2 to 4 minutes per player's turn. So for a normal group, combat is usually 30 to 60 minutes each. Do we need to turn to that? So Joe says, I have to take into account that severe is actually severe. The Pathfinder 2 encounter budget actually works as intended. If you make a deadly encounter, characters will most likely die. So I do wonder how it works. Like if you make the players go through, like I was just hypothetically budgeting, 1 low threat encounter and then several moderate threat encounters, and then you get to the severe threat encounter. How is their budgeting working? Does that make the severe encounter worse because they've used up resources up here? So maybe it should be all moderate threat encounters for most of the time. Oh, E Strong provides some. Welcome, E Strong. Armstrong says, having run the beginner's box, it took me about 2 to 3 sessions to get to level 2, but most of that was from fighting. you can give XP for RP goals, etc. Oh yeah, and we did go over that, and I didn't account for that when we were talking when I was just putting those numbers together. So we also have to give minor and major milestone XP. That was in here. So we have to account for that when we're designing an adventure. Accomplishment XP, that's what it is. So we're also giving out minor accomplishments for 10 XP, moderate accomplishments for 30, and major at 80. So given a game session, you'll typically give several minor awards. So in any particular game session, you should get 10 XP several times. And you may get 1 or 2 moderate awards and only 1 major award, if any. So choosing creatures. Monsters are worth an amount of XP that depends on their level relative to the party's level. To make an encounter, add the XP for the monsters together to make sure it's in the range listed above, or just use the suggestions in the encounter groups table to make one quickly. So monsters are worth an XP amount that depends on their relative level to the party's level. So the relative level thing is very important. So creature level over here, party level 3, party level 2, party level 1. Oh, no, minus. Oh, see, that's supposed to be a minus right there. Okay, so if the creature's level is party level -3, then it provides 15 XP. If the creature is of the party's level, it provides 40 XP. That's what we're looking at right here. So if the creature is very tough, like has the party level +3, then it provides 120 XP. Now we are into that severe encounter right here. It appears that a lot of thought has been given into this. So one monster of party level +2 would be 80. So that would be our moderate challenge. And party level +1, that would be our low threat challenge. And then below that, unlikely to be threatening, except for we can combine monsters, because not everything has to be a one monster encounter. I suppose if we got a bunch of orcs, hey, I'm sure, don't we have, yeah, okay, so we got monsters back here. Look, here is a bugbear marauder. This says creature 2. Does that mean that's a second level creature? A bugbear marauder? We got lots of, this is over here is creature -1. So that's I guess let's look this up. Let's find out character descriptions. Oh, this is its level right here. Creature name and level. So what does it tell us about level? Each creature's rules appear in the stat block. The top of a creature's stat block lists its name and level. While heroes start at first level, some weak creatures can be level 0 or even level -1. Underneath this heading is the creature's traits line. Okay, so that's why -1. So you can have a negative level. So that, what was that? Giant centipede, not a really big deal for a creature. So it's creature level -1. So if my party level is 1, then that giant centipede should give 30 XP. So if I put 2 giant centipedes in there, suddenly I have a low threat encounter. I think that's how that's working. How that's working. I like the thought that's going into this. Hey, the Nose Plays. Good to see you. The Nose Play says, just popped in while at work to say I've seen your numbers growing and growing, and I'm happy for your success, man. Keep moving forward. Thank you, the Nose Plays. Yeah, we have been growing here, and it's been incredible. Thank you to everybody who's watching. We have 59 people watching right now. So thank you to everybody who's being here and people who've been watching on replay. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Nose Plays. I really appreciate that. Nose Plays is one of the regulars around here. Scrolling back down through the comments a little bit here. And so Jeggy100 says, yeah, Pathfinder 2, the levels are pretty tight when it comes to combat. And I like that. And probably you just, yeah, as the game master, you just get, you could plan this all out, which you'd probably want to do. It seems like it doesn't take all that much time to sit down for an hour and go, okay, now wait a minute. What are we playing tonight? And how do I need to organize this? But you probably also kind of get, on your feet as far as just what's going on the fly if you need an encounter and being able to construct it. Okay, so let's look over here. So this is encounter groups. To build encounters more quickly, use these encounter groups and then add up the right amount of XP. So low threat fights. Do you want it to be a weak pair of creatures, a gang, or a mob? Moderate threat fights, solo threat. So that'd be like a one monster threat, a pair of creatures, or some type of troop of creatures they're fighting. Or do you want a severe threat fight, solo boss, boss and his lackeys, boss and a lieutenant, or elite enemies? I like this. I like this so much. So if you're at party level, for instance, so if we're at party level 2, and it did say last time that they're all supposed to be the same. Everybody at the table, all the characters you're supposed to keep them at the same level. It said even if a player misses a session, then you're supposed to still keep all the characters at the same level. So if we were a second level party, and excuse me, God, and we've got a solo threat. If I want as the game master to put them up as a solo threat, then the second level party should be facing one 4th level creature. What is a 4th level creature? You'll probably find one. Skeleton Guard is creature -1. Okay, a Shadow is creature 4. So a Shadow here would be a 1 solo threat, second level party moderate challenge. Or take 2 second level creatures if you want to be fighting a pair, or if you're fighting a troop, 1 second level and 2 0 levels. I like that. I like that table. I like that table a lot. So if you are party level 1, then giving them 3 first level creatures to fight would be fighting elite enemies, and that would be a severe threat. So 3 first level creatures for a party of 4 adventurers at level 1 would be a severe threat. Or one. Excuse me, maybe I took care of that. So 1 4th level creature would be a solo boss for a first level fight. This is an extremely useful table. Open D&D says, is there a community stat block generator for Pathfinder? If the D&D one goes away, designers are screwed. Avalon says, Shadow is a particularly strong enemy, by the way, as they can create new enemies. Pathfinder 2 Easy has a nice encounter builder that does all the math for you. I think we go up to level 20, but I don't know when they consider high level play to start. But I'm pretty sure this goes the starter box here only goes up to 3rd level. I think if you want to go to 4th level, you got to get the core book. All right, encounters of different party sizes. We need to look at this. Different party sizes. Because if we don't have 4 players, then how do we adjust this? The normal guidelines are for a typical party of 4 heroes. If you have more or fewer heroes, make these adjustments. If you have more than 4 players, add extra monsters without increasing the XP the encounter awards. Without increasing, add extra monsters, but do not hand out more XP. Because you're giving the XP for defeating a particular type of threat, right? And so the threat has to be higher for more characters. Makes sense. So for 5 players, add 15 to 20 XP worth of extra monsters. For instance, 1 monster of the party's level -3, or of the party's level -2. So for 5 players, add 15 to 20 XP more. For 6 players, add 30 to 40 XP worth or more of monsters. You can often approximate by treating an encounter group as one category easier for a group of 6, using a moderate threat group for a low threat fight and a severe threat for a moderate threat fight. If you have fewer than 4 players, use fewer monsters, but still give the same amount of XP. For 3 players, you can use low threat encounter groups for moderate threat fights and moderate threat groups for severe threat fights. To make low threat fights, use 1 creature of the party's level, 2 of their level -2, or 3 of their level -3. For 2 players, each monster is basically worth double XP. That means you can use any of the low threat encounter groups as severe threat fights. And for other fights, you should just use a single monster of the party's level or lower. All right, so that's how we adjust this. You don't have to adjust the XP given. You just adjust what monsters are there. Hazards and encounters. You might want to add some traps or other hazards to your encounters. Remember these make the fights harder. If you use a hazard with a level 1 higher than the party's level, or even higher than that, you may need to remove a weak monster from the combat to stay within your XP budget and avoid overcomplicating the fight. So, are we about to get into... Oh, we're about to get into treasure, too. Environments, I wonder if the hazards may be in here. So if they're also giving us hazards, yes, look, here we've got hazards and we've got a declaration of like spear launcher is a hazard 2. A hidden pit is a hazard 0, and envenomed lock is a hazard 1. There's so much I like about this. There's so many things I want to make. Okay, so alternate encounters. Depending on how the story of your adventure plays out, some encounters might go differently than you planned. For instance, if the party finds a secret route to sneak up on the orc commander, that enemy might face the heroes alone instead of having her orc soldiers at her side. This gives the party a big advantage. But make sure that if the heroes do things the hard way, the fights aren't so difficult that they're beyond severe difficulty. As another example, you might have to have a setup in which the party could ally with either side of a rivalry between orcs and goblins. You need to prepare encounters for both groups, with the party's choices determining which ones you use. So, other challenges. Though encounters are the most common challenge the heroes will face in the game, other types of challenges add great variety to your game, such as obstacles. An obstacle is a dangerous condition or location the heroes must navigate in order to proceed. A room filled with poisonous mold, a chasm with rotten rope bridge, a pool of lava, an unstable chamber with crumbling ceiling, or something as simple as a locked door can serve as an obstacle. For the heroes to progress safely, they generally need to attempt a skill check or saving throw with the DC that's either given in the adventure or set by you, with advice given on page 36. If the heroes succeed, they make it past the obstacle. If they fail, they could mean they simply didn't make it through and can try again, but it also means they take damage or face a setback. Hazards. These challenges are similar to obstacles in that they're dangerous and can be overcome with a combination of skill checks, saving throws, attacks, or spells. A hazard's main difference from an obstacle is the hazards are hidden from view and can strike with little or no warnings. That's the difference between hazard and obstacle. Traps are the main type of hazard for adventurers, and you can find a number of examples on page 49. You should use hazards sparingly. Including a lot of them slows down the game as increasingly paranoid players check every 5-foot square for hidden perils. You might want to give the player some kind of warning, perhaps from an NPC, that they're heading into a trapped area so they don't overly worry about hazards the rest of the time. Like monsters, traps have a level, and heroes gain XP for beating them. And then we talk about puzzles. Puzzles present the players, not the characters, with a challenge. That's an important point. Puzzles are for the players, not the characters. Puzzles can take the form of riddles, shifting tiles, mazes, word puzzles, or anything else that must be solved by brain power, logic, and experimentation. You can enhance a puzzle by giving players a handout or prop that lets them directly manipulate or study the puzzle. A puzzle generally can't be solved with dice rolls, but if your group gets stuck, consider letting them attempt an appropriate skill check to learn clues, or even the solution, especially if they're getting frustrated. After all, even a player stumped by a puzzle, the character might not be. All right, so then we have some stuff about role-playing here and the story itself before we get into rewards. I'm going to go to the chat. What time are we looking at? We've got a little bit more time. We'll look at role-playing and story, what they have to say here, just in case they've got new information here. But then probably we'll take a look at rewards and treasure the next time we get into this book. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Zero the Blade says, I guess high-level challenges might include possible plus X weapons the party may have. There were rules for what type of magic weapons the party members might have. Like if you're trying to create a character that is like second level, you're starting to create a character at second level or third level. We did see in here that it recommended what type of magic items to give your players. PF2 easy. We're going to have to check that out. So David Sims said high-level play is regarded as 16 to 20. Chaos Street. Yeah, we need to look at what World Anvil actually, how World Anvil supports Pathfinder, because they support a whole bunch of different systems. So Chase is saying that I was just checking before typing this. World Anvil also has several Pathfinder 2nd E stat blocks, but I believe you have to sub to use them. I haven't started trying to put out stat blocks, and I didn't even think about that. Stat blocks for the worlds, putting them out in like for Pathfinder on that World Anvil sites that we're building. So we'll check into that. That's something that we'll look at and figure out how to use on the channel. That's World Building Wednesdays. See, Piccadilly says the monsters are designed. Oh yeah, the monsters are designed with the party having plus X weapons and mines. That's one reason that the creature rating, or the challenge rating works at all levels. Robert Reed says, I can't wait to get my Pathfinder set. I have new dice coming in today. I was fortunate that I already had it, but new dice, that's cool. New game and new dice. Oh, Lake the Pondling says, been fine hanging out, but I have my own game Pathfinder to run. Have fun. Okay, let's take a look at what they say about role playing and story here, just in case they have extra insight the way that Pathfinder is supposed to be played here, especially if there's a mechanical aspect. Role playing scenes are among the most complex types of challenges. They happen most often when heroes are presented with a monster or NPC who doesn't immediately want to start a fight. This could be a prisoner who wants to be rescued, a rival dungeon explorer who wants to trick the heroes into entering a dangerous room first, or a creature who might tell the heroes something useful about a dungeon if they bribe or befriend it. Role-playing occurs practically whenever the creatures need to engage in conversation with you to resolve the situation. One particularly useful kind of role-playing scene introduces a quest. In such a scene, heroes can learn of the task and that they try to complete. Usually, a questing PC promises a reward if the heroes manage to successfully complete the quest for the NPC. This reward could even be favors instead of coins. For example, the players could receive permission to delve deeper into a dungeon the quest-giving NPC is guarding. You can combine role-playing with other types of challenges. For instance, a scene where the heroes must succeed at diplomacy checks to convince a guardian to let them pass without a fight is both a role-playing and obstacle challenge, while a challenge in which the heroes must answer a ghost spirit's 3 riddles is a role-playing and puzzle challenge. Most role-playing scenes combine well with story scenes. You can also include a role-playing encounter with the potential to turn into a combat encounter. Perhaps a hungry ogre wants to interrogate the heroes about which one of them tastes best before she attacks. Or perhaps a conversation with a monster goes in the hero's favor. It chooses not to attack them, but if they seem weak, then it strikes. Story scenes provide opportunities for heroes to learn about your dungeon and world. They rarely involve any actual danger or impediment to physical progress through a dungeon, but they're often the most important type of scene. There's no point in creating a great history for the dungeon if the players have no way to learn about it. A story scene can come in the form of finding an old journal, examining a carving on the wall, having a conversation with a friendly monster or talkative ghost, any similar opportunity to use actions like recall knowledge or decipher writing that enables the players to learn more about their surroundings. All right, so that is our information on building encounters. I'm glad we went through that. I learned a lot. I really like what they're doing there. So the next thing that we will talk about, I'm not sure when, in the next couple of days or so, we will now get into giving out rewards, what type of treasure. I guess this will cover what type of +1 weaponry or +2 weaponry they should have at what levels. So I'm interested in getting into that. We'll take a look at environments. So we'll keep going, but we'll look at treasure and rewards when we come back here. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let me take down the this. Enderin says, Pathfinder 2 traps, poisons, and diseases are cool. They are actually interesting and dangerous. Levi Del Valle says, I was going to use one campaign I made for 5e, but I can do it better in Pathfinder 2e. I can think of like, it seems like if I were going to run one, I'd want to structure it like this as well. It sounds so much better. Cheap Football says, I live in the middle of nowhere. Would like to start playing tabletop RPG games. Do you know of any VTT DMs that help first-time players? We have a looking for games section in the Ravenkeep Discord. That would be where I would ask over here. Some people might know of that in the chat. I don't. Some people may be able to help you out here. But if people want to organize games on the Discord, they're welcome to. I know there are people who play online there. The Last Phoenix says, for me, role-playing never ends. Combat is just a type of role-playing where I describe how the character fights. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they sort of separate that out as a different type of encounter situation. Although they do say that you can mix it, mix role-playing in with other encounters. But they didn't specifically talk about role-playing in combat. In that section, anyway. In that section. Chase Street says, yes, the high-level poisons can even leave a 20th level character with pretty much a 50-50 chance of surviving. Oh, so that's pretty bad. Foundry, we got to look more at Foundry. We got to look more at Foundry. Foundry supports Pathfinder 2 very well. Yes, please, if you're here and you're new, please do hit the like button. It would really help out. We're trying to grow here and I would love it for the Morning Grind to become a mainstay live stream in the tabletop gaming community. So if you would hit the like button, that would help out algorithmically. If you're new here and haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. There is a lot going on. There's a lot coming out. So this afternoon, I'm actually going to play Hero Quest. This afternoon, I've got a few hours to try to do some work around here and clean up. And I got tons of emails I got to respond to in order to actually get work done. But this afternoon, I'm going to play Hero Quest. I'm taking our 3D board. We built this 3D jumbo-sized Hero Quest board out of foam, brick by brick. If you want to check that out, how we built that is here on the channel. There's a 3-part series on how we built this amazing jumbo-sized Hero Quest board. That board is all loaded up. And so at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so just a few hours from now, I'm going to be playing a Hero Quest game with my nephews. They're all nephews. They'll be playing today. I love introducing the next generation to tabletop fantasy games through Hero Quest because that was the first tabletop fantasy game that I played. So we're going to be playing Hero Quest. I might tweet out some pictures or what's going on of the adventure or whatever, but I got to get ready and then I'm going to go game this afternoon too. So I'm very excited about that. David Sim says there are a few places that are playing beginner box VTT events. I know the rules lawyer is planning one. I've been seeing, I think played through. I saw that he posted a playthrough as well. I haven't watched that yet. We may end up playing through the beginner box. I want to be able to organize a show here for role playing, but I just haven't gotten to. With everything else going on, I haven't gotten to start organizing new pilots for new shows. Mooch Hound, I'm new, and I will 1,000% hit the like button. Thank you so much, Mooch. Good to see you. Good to see you. And Don says, Hero Quest rules. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Really enjoyed it. If you're watching on replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. Everybody, go play Hero Quest. Check it out. Check out the Ravenkeep server. Maybe everybody organizes a game. Yep. Let's play Hero Quest. Let's play games and be productive, but play games too. Later, everybody.